All right, welcome along to the channel. We're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine in this episode. Now, if you haven't seen it at this point, I'm disgusted with you. Uh, don't watch this video or listen to this podcast. Skip out of it. Get to the cinema if it's still there at the point of recording this. I'm not 100% sure if it's still been shown. But if you haven't seen it on the big screen, you've missed out in a big bad way. This, for me, is easily the best Deadpool movie, and we finally get the Wolverine that I've been personally waiting to see for 24 years at this point. Jackman does a fantastic job with Wolverine in this one. Great. So I'm going to spoil the crap out of this. If you haven't seen it, you've been warned. So we're going to go ahead with it. Essentially, this one here, if you've seen the second Deadpool, of course, Wade had Cable's time travel device, and he's using that to go back, save his girlfriend from getting killed and whatnot. So he does also use it to skip over to the sacred timeline and tries to join the Avengers. We get a cameo from Hogan, Happy Hogan, who basically just turns him down and tells him to get out, sort of thing. So he goes back dejected, and 6 years later he's broken up from his girlfriend, and he's kind of given up the mantle of Deadpool, and he's working as a car salesman and wearing the wig, the whole nine. You've seen that in the trailer. At this point, the TVA show up, the Time Variance Authority. If you've seen Loki's series, you'll know all about these guys. But he's taken to this man who's known as Mr. Paradox. He explains that who they are, what they do. They look over time, keep an eye on everything, and they also keep an eye on the sacred timeline as the wider multiverse as well. And they fill him in that they have a problem with his reality, and their anchor being for that reality has died, which means the reality itself is eventually going to just fizzle out and die. And they kind of give him the opportunity to move from his reality to the sacred timeline. And there's a whole thing right there. I'm not going to go too deep into it, because this movie, the plot of the film isn't a thick, fantastic plot. This movie does one thing and one thing well, and that is to entertain. So Wade takes the chance, steals the temp pad from Mr. Paradox, starts skipping through the multiverse to look for a Wolverine to replace the Wolverine from his reality. The Wolverine, of course, is the one we all know from the Fox movies and died in Logan. So off he goes to search for a Wolverine to replace him, thinking this is going to replace the anchor being Logan and save his reality, which isn't the case. But we get some good stuff right here as he's skipping through different realities. He's seeing different versions of Wolverine, and you get a lot of images from the comic books, like the Wolverine fighting the Hulk, the Wolverine crucified to the giant axe. So if you know comic history, you'll see a lot of stuff in there that is just tasty. We get to see Henry Cavill appearing as Wolverine. There's a few sequences with him that I think were cut. We're going to get that, I believe, in a 3-hour cut of this movie whenever it gets to DVD and streaming and Blu-ray, whatever. But anyway, Wade returns to the TVA with a variant of Logan, but he manages to pick the worst Logan that ever existed. This guy let down his entire universe, let the X-Men die and whatnot. We get into it in bigger detail as we get through the movie. And again, Wolverine played fantastic in this movie. He's a very, very damaged version of Wolverine, and one that gets a bit of a redemption story throughout this. But anyway, Paradox, they find out he's acting without the knowledge of his superiors, and he I was going to say plucks. Uh, I can't recall the term they use for whenever they send someone to the void. Uh, you've got those staff things, and you boom, off they go to the end of time, essentially, where people are just problems that are sent to just die out. And the majority of the movie takes place in the void at the end of time. And there's a lot of people I've noticed online that have complained about the uh, chronological side of this movie. Like, X-23 shows up, Lara from Logan shows up in this movie. Is it X-23 you call her? Her proper name? Yeah. I'll just go with Lara in this one. I think she's X-23. Well, people have complained that with the time that this movie is set, she wouldn't have been that old. She would have been a lot younger. Whatever, doesn't matter. This is a very tongue-in-cheek movie. If you don't get what they're going for in the void in this, you're reading far too much into it. It's not about the continuity as such. It's about the love letter. In my mind, it's about the love letter towards 20th Century Fox and the Fox universe of the X-Men and everything that was involved with that, and all the superhero movies that were done prior to the MCU. That's what they're going for. When they get to the void, there's a great fight between Wolverine and Deadpool, and Wolverine throws him across through a wall, and he actually hits the tattered remains of the 20th Century Fox logo. So you know exactly what's going on here. The whole void in this movie is a love letter to what came before the MCU. Of course, 20th Century Fox has been bought over by Disney now. So everything in there, everything you see, is all people and heroes from the Fox universe. And if you look really closely at Cassandra Nova and her army of mutants and superheroes, whatever you want to call them, there's a lot of characters in there that if you're actually going chronologically and what happened in the other movies, a lot of these people here in this void are actually have been killed at one point in the prior movie. So it's not about the chronological side of things, it's about giving a love letter to the people that came before, essentially. So they do it in great, great style. The cameos in it are fantastic. Electra shows up along with Blade. I did warn you, going to spoil it. And what I wasn't expecting, I did get a few things spoiled before I went to see this movie. I'm not going to lie, I couldn't let it sit. I had to let a few things in there before I got to see it. It was like the second week, end of the second week, heading into the third week of its release, whenever I finally got to see it. And gotta say, when Gambit showed up, fantastic. And again, this is another love letter towards a movie that didn't get made. So it was great to see this version of Logan, because they were trying to get this one made for a long, long time, and finally got us out in this movie as a test run. And I could actually see them trying to push towards actually getting a Gambit movie made now, because it was such a great version of him. I had so much fun in this movie. As we're getting towards the end of the movie, we learn that Paradox's plan is to destroy Wade's universe quicker by using a machine called the Reality Ripper or the Time Ripper or something like that. The Time Ripper. I'm just looking at some notes online here. Cassandra Nova, that leads these guys and the void, the villains of the piece, let's just say, some of the villains of the piece. Essentially, this guy Paradox is the big villain, but she decides she's going to get hold of this Time Ripper device of his, and not just destroy Wade's reality, but she's going to use it to destroy all reality apart from the void. She's happy being there, just ruling that with the people around her and whatnot, and everything else can burn for all she cares. So she sends the in the void. There's a whole lot of Deadpool's already in there. I'm laughing because I know some of this. I'm just thinking of some of the stuff that happened in the movie while I'm recording this. But oh gosh, again, you have to see it. When the Deadpool Corp shows up, Cassandra sends them on to fight Deadpool and Wolverine. Dog pulls in the middle of it and everything. There's a funny sequence where Wade, Deadpool, uses Nice Pull as a human shield, thinking that he can regenerate, but finds out that he can't. But there's like 1,000 bullets go through him. He eventually gets messed up beyond all repair. He's dead. Wolverine jumps out. The whole Deadpool Corp are going to start shooting at him, but he holds Dogpill up. And of course, everybody doesn't want to hurt Dogpill, so they let him go. But then we get that sequence when you seen it in the trailer where Wolverine and Deadpool are walking out in the superhero stance. And they finally. Now, I have to say, when X-Men was originally made and they decided not to go with the classic comic book suits, I could see through that decision not to do it. But for the length of time they went without trying it, didn't really get it. But it has to be said, Wolverine's suit, of all the superhero suits probably, is the one that if you got it wrong, you were going to get it wrong in a major, major way. It would look absolutely ridiculous. And I do have to say, I haven't seen this movie, and the reveal of him, of Hugh Jackman in the yellow and blue Wolverine suit, and the eventual moment that you're sitting there waiting for the whole way through it, and you're thinking to yourself, right, they're not going to go this far and not have the mask. They do the cowl. And that moment they walk out, reaches back, pulls up the mask, and they nailed it in a major, major way. It looks good. It worked so well. But I have to say now, I went back after watching this, back to the original X-Men, watched X-Men, X2, The Final Stand, and through the whole thing. I don't think, even if it was that particular suit, I don't think it would have worked first time around, just with Jackman's build. Now, in all fairness, he was never big enough, muscular enough to be Wolverine, particularly in the first movie. He was kind of getting there in the second one, almost there in the third one. I don't think he actually nailed the size, proper size of Wolverine until the Wolverine. Kinda in X-Men Origins Wolverine, but I digress. He's the right, and Deadpool and Wolverine, he's the exact right size for that costume with the mask up. It just, everything's in proportion, worked great. The finale of the film is them trying to save all reality from Cassandra Nova, who is the twin sister of Professor X, from using the Time Ripper device to destroy all reality. And the only way they can do it is to basically break the connection that the machine's making. So I'm not going to completely destroy it for you, but the two of them have to. The two of them kind of fight each other to see who's going to sacrifice themselves to save reality, but they eventually, screw it. They eventually go in together and destroy the device and save all reality. And even Wade manages to save his own reality, even though this Wolverine can't be the Wolverine that was there. What is that exact term for it? The anchor being. uh, his reality now doesn't have an anchor being. This Wolverine can't be that, but somehow he's managed to save his universe. That's the only explanation he gets. So probably now he's the anchor being. I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, but this is the introduction to Deadpool and the MCU. So if he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to stay in that reality or get to the sacred timeline. We're going to see him and the Avengers at some point. Don't know. But the tasty little ending to the film, in my opinion, Wolverine's side of things, is Wade was promising him that the TVA, to try to keep him in line, he said the TVA would be able to, sort out his reality, fix everything that went wrong, everything he did wrong. Dark, dark character Logan is in this movie. He let the X-Men down, essentially, and the humans attacked, killed all the X-Men when he wasn't there. And he doesn't go into much detail, really, in the movie, but he took out revenge in a major way. And it was kind of an Anakin Skywalker moment where he didn't just kill the guilty. He went a little bit further. Like, he started killing indiscriminately at one point or another. So he's got a lot to try and make up for. But at the end of the film, Wade does make the case to the TVA, can you fix his reality for him? Change the past, whatever, save the X-Men. They can't do it because everything that he went through made him be the person that he was to do what he's only after doing. So it's a great, great movie with not the thickest of storylines or plot or anything like that, but it is a damn fun time. This is the turning point for me. This is really a video for an hour time. I'll not go too deep into it now, but this movie for me, it's the first film in a long time that I've went into the cinema and just had a good time throughout. Not getting preached to, just flat out entertainment. Shut your brain off for a little while. Kill a few brain cells watching this movie. This is what a film should be. Entertaining, a break from reality, and a damn good time. It's got a potty mouth, but it's got a big, big heart in the right place. There's a lot of moments in this film. Not gonna lie, there's a lot of moments on here where I was starting to get a little bit emotional in the middle of it. And that's the last thing you're kind of expecting from a Deadpool movie. If anything else, you're just expecting it to be, as offensive as possible. Can't get over how much I actually enjoyed this film. I've said before in the past, the type of humour that Deadpool uses is, that sort of humour where he just doesn't just crack a joke, but he keeps going, but he bounces from one thing to the other seamlessly in the film. And where a lot of other films have failed in that is they'll crack one joke and then they'll try and pull that one joke as far as they can. Not so much in Deadpool. He'll do that in a way, but he'll do variations on the thing and just make it funnier. And it's good. Like, I have to eat crow here. I never was a huge fan of that sort of humour. And even Ryan Reynolds was never a huge fan of him in other movies. For some reason, he's won me over with Deadpool and Wolverine. And I only really gave the first two Deadpool movies a shot properly in the weeks leading up to watching this one. And the first one, very good. Second one, kind of had a bit of a hard time getting through. But the man has absolutely nailed it. And yes, it's a good time. If you haven't seen it, get her watched. I'm disgusted if you haven't.